Hi, everyone. I'm Alan Feliz, Executive Director of OneV. As you know, we're a nonpartisan organization that shares the experiences and stories of American voters. OneV also offers facts and information about past and upcoming elections with the hope that all Americans exercise their right to vote across all levels of government, state, local, and federal. Welcome back to OneV's 2022 State Legislative Election Series. During this election cycle, OneV is excited to shine a light on state-level races. State House and Senate officials hold an enormous amount of power around issues that affect the everyday lives of ordinary Americans, and they influence the fairness of elections. As an organization that is deeply committed to American democracy, we believe it's critical to talk about public service and elections at this level. That's why I'm very delighted to be joined today by Laura Terech, who is running for the House of Representatives in Arizona, District 4. Laura is an elementary school teacher who believes that investing in children is investing in Arizona. Laura is also a champion for public education that serves every family and quality, affordable health care. Laura, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited.
Wonderful. Well, Laura, if you wouldn't mind, if we could just start at the beginning, would love to hear about your background, really your personal story, and how you got to the point of running for public office.
Yeah, well, running for office, some folks wake up and they decide that that's what they're going to do. That wasn't necessarily the case for me. It was a little bit of a longer journey to get here. But there is one moment that I look back on, and that's the salient moment. That's the moment where I really knew I had to get involved. I was teaching my kindergarten students. I had 36 kindergartners sitting on the rug in front of me, which is too many for a single classroom, by the way. And I hear this terrible cracking noise, and I look up at my ceiling and I just thought, oh my gosh, that's coming down. And sure enough, it was. Part of my ceiling collapsed over the kindergartners as I was teaching. So in that moment, I did what any educator would do, and I jumped up and I shielded the kids. So thankfully, I was the only one injured. But this is the state of education in Arizona, that we're not even able to keep our buildings up around our kids. And that begs the question, well, what else are we not doing for our students? And what can we be doing if we prioritize public education? So that really spurred me into action and led me to get involved. And now I'm here running for office and in a position to be able to advocate for all students across the state of Arizona, not just those in my classroom, which is very, very special.
That's great. What an inspiring story, Laura, and also terrifying as well. Focusing a bit on your experience as a teacher, in this professional space, can you tell us a bit about why you feel like public office is the next best step for you, given your professional experience?
Well, the state, like I mentioned, the state of education in Arizona has been neglected for a really long time. So we actually see quite a few teachers running for office this year. We're ready to get in there and make a change. I'm actually out of the classroom now. Now I work with two nonpartisan nonprofit organizations, one focused on helping people make their voices heard at the state legislature, and another focused entirely on voting rights and removing discriminatory barriers to the ballot box, making sure that we're preserving that access for everyone. So I work with the state legislature quite a bit. I'm down there all the time. I see kind of what happens and what goes on in the bills that are being passed, and learning about that process and engaging in that. I just thought I'm ready to take it to the next level, and I'm ready to get down there and advocate for Arizona families and students and do that at the state level.
That's great. And Laura, I certainly want to come back to your work on voting rights. That being our major focus at OneV. But before we go to voting rights, I want to ask you about District 4. If you could help our supporters understand that district, what are the main issues impacting folks in that district, and issues that you're really hoping to work on for those people?
Sure. Well, in Arizona, with redistricting, we ended up with 12 safe Democratic districts, 13 safe Republican, and 5 that are up for grab. And LD4 is one of those 5 battleground districts. It's a district that by and large just does not like extremism on either end. So when I talk to voters at the doors, they're talking about public education, voting rights certainly comes up, choice, gun violence prevention, preserving our safe neighborhoods, Airbnbs, that comes up quite a bit. That's very popular in Scottsdale and Paradise Valley, and that's something that neighbors chat with me about. So they're focused on, you know, the bread and butter issues that impact all Arizonans, and I hope to go to the legislature to be a voice for everyone in the district, not one party or the other, but the district as a whole, because I think we've lost sight of that a little bit, and it's really important now more than ever.
That's great. And you know, you mentioned voting rights a couple of times and in an earlier question. And again, that's the issue that really brings the two of us together in this interview. It's incredibly important. Wish it were a more nonpartisan issue, but you know, obviously, we know there's a lot at stake when it comes to issues around access to the ballot. As a public official, should you win, how do you feel like you can influence, you know, the fairness of future elections, and what ways do you think you can make a difference in that area?
Well, you know, what we've seen in Arizona in the last 2 years is a lot of legislation being proposed that, you know, purports to address the fraud in the 2020 election, which we know did not happen. So we're legislating problems that don't exist. And in doing so, we're making it harder for folks to vote. And that's really concerning to me, especially when we're talking about the rural parts of our state, our seniors, our military families, our military members. You know, every eligible voter in Arizona has a right to cast their ballot securely and easily, whether that's by mail or at the polls. So rolling back some of the provisions that have been passed in the last 2 years that enact barriers to the ballot box, that would be a priority. And then again, just making it easier, more transparent for folks to vote. In Maricopa County, where the Phoenix is, the Phoenix metro area, we have an outstanding ballot tracking system. So you can follow your ballot from the time it's printed to when it's being mailed to when it's being signature verified. I'd love to see more programs like that enacted statewide to help people feel more connected to the election process and, you know, give them a better glimpse into exactly how this is done and just how secure it really is, because we do have very secure elections in Arizona.
That's great. And again, hearing about people who are running, who care deeply about these issues is very encouraging for us and for lovers of American democracy. So, you know, thank you for advocating for voting rights. Um, uh, One thing that you've alluded to throughout this interview is the fact that it's important for you to reach out to folks of different political beliefs, you know, regardless of their political backgrounds, party leanings. Again, that's very important to us. I'm sure one thing that you may encounter from people is some cynicism, maybe some apathy. I'm curious as to how do you get people enthusiastic about these state elections, you know, with so much attention given to federal elections and presidential contests. You know, as someone who's running for the House of Representatives, you know, what's your message for folks who, you know, don't know if they should be investing in these races?
Well, that's a great question. And I have sort of two approaches for that. And the first is I love to tell them the story of my running mate, the esteemed Senator Christine Marsh. She ran in 2018 and lost by 267 votes, ran again in 2020 and won by 497. And when you break that down in our district, that's, you know, a dozen votes per precinct, maybe. And so when I share that information with folks about your vote at the local level, particularly, has such an impact. And then I think a lot of times people just don't necessarily make the connection between what we do at the state legislature and their day-to-day lives. So when I'm able to chat with them about if you care about public education, water, access to abortion, conservation issues, gun violence prevention. Those are all things that we work on at the state level. And not only that, but the benefit of getting to know your state representative. This is someone that you really can have more of a direct relationship with than, say, your congressperson. So you can email your state representative, or you can follow along with the bills that they're voting on and meet with them and really have more of a one-on-one kind of community-based relationship with your elected officials. And again, I think in light of all the division that we've seen, that's really important for folks to know that they have someone down there that's accessible, that's working for them.
That's great. And Laura, certainly your story is a great example of anyone can get involved. You know, anyone can be politically active. You don't have to be born into it. It doesn't have to be your life goal from the age of 5, right? As an educator, you know, transitioning to public office, you're a great example that, we can all get involved. So really appreciate that. Laura, I hate to cut a wonderful conversation abruptly, but, I know you have to go. Final question for you is, how can we learn more about your story and your candidacy?
Well, I'd love for folks to follow along with what we're doing. You can learn more at our website, which is laura4az.com. And that's the word for, not the number four. And I'd be happy to share more information that way.
Wonderful. Laura, we wish you the best of luck. Look forward to seeing how things unfold this season. On behalf of OneV, Laura, thank you for sharing your time with us, for sharing your story, your passion for public service. And to our followers, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you at our next conversation in our 2022 state legislative election series. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you.